Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. It's your girl Naza Ugala vlogging from Umuahia Abia State. If you're just seeing my face for the first time, thank you for clicking on this video, and if you're a returning subscriber, thank you so much. I really do appreciate. I want to specially welcome each and every one of you to my very first YouTube series titled the Biafran series. And guys, in this series we're going to be talking a lot about what happened before and during the Biafran War. After that, we'll be capping it up with a discussion titled 50-something years after the Biafran War, as the war really ended. We will also be reliving the war by visiting the National War Museum and the bunker where Ojukwu stayed in Umuahia. If it's something you would like to watch, if it's something you're interested in watching, please don't forget to click on the subscribe button and also turn on your post notifications so you'll be notified each time I post a new video. At the end of each episode, guys, we're going to be dropping pertinent questions that we will answer in the comment section down below. So guys, in today's episode, we're going to be talking a lot about the 1966 coup, the counter coup, and the aftermath of these two coups. Starting from the 1966 coup, this coup was one of the most deadly coups that Nigeria has ever experienced. Exactly on 15th of January 1966, some men from the army decided to carry out a deadly coup. According to the special branch report by the police, based on interrogation of some of the men and officers that were involved in the coup, the following men were the major planners and executors of this coup. 1. Major Chukwuma Nzeogwu. 2. Major Emmanuel Ifeajuna. 3. Major Adewale Ademoyega. Major C.I. Anofor. Major David Okafor. Major I.H. Chukwuma. Major O.O.G. and some other. In Kaduna, the group was led by Major Chukwuma Nzeogwu, an Igbo man from Okpanam, Delta State to be precise, who was born and bred in Kaduna and lived practically all his life in Kaduna. He spoke more Hausa than Igbo and was even nicknamed Kaduna by his friends. On the 14th of January, Major Chukwuma Nzeogwu decided to carry some men ostensibly on routine exercises to Sir Ahmadu Bello's house. On getting to his house, he told the soldiers there that they were actually there to kill the Sadwana. And in his words, they did not disagree. If they had disagreed, they could have easily shot me. They continued, went inside the house, shot the Saraduna and some of his house servants. Meanwhile, still in Kaduna, another group led by Major T.onwuatuegwu shot and killed Brigadier Ademolegun and his wife. A third group led by Lieutenant K.D. Waribo shot and killed Colonel Shodeinde, who was the second in command at the Defense Academy. Other events that happened in the north include the abduction of Sir Kashim Ibrahim by Major T.onwuatuegwu, the abduction of Makaman Bida, who was the regional finance minister. Meanwhile, in Lagos, which was the federal capital territory at that time, the group was led by Emmanuel Ifeajuna, who was an Igbo man precisely from Onitsha, born in 1935 and a science graduate of University College of Ibadan, a gold medalist at international sports events in 1954, who later went on to join the army. Small detachments went about all over Lagos seeking their main objectives. Who was first? Brigadier Maimalari, commanding the 2nd Brigade, Lieutenant Colonel Pam, the Adjutant General, Lieutenant Colonel Lajema, commanding the 4th Brigade. The first two were shot in their homes, while the third was shot at an Ikoyi hotel. Major Ifeajuna went after the politicians himself. He arrested the Prime Minister, Tafawa Balewa, and bundled him to the back of his car. After the kidnap of the Prime Minister, Tafawa Balewa, Chief Festus Okoti Ebu, who was the finance minister, was also shot. The troops went after Dr. Kingsley Mbadiwe, who was the Minister of Trade at that time, and also an Igbo man, but he escaped and hid at the empty state house of Nnamdi Azikiwe, where the troops never got to him. The last casualty in Lagos was another Igbo man, Major Otonebu, who was in charge of the keys to the armories in Lagos. He was shot for refusing to hand over the keys, and that brought to the end the events of Lagos. At Ibadan, the capital of the West, the Premier Akintola was killed. His second in command, Chief Fani Kayode, was arrested. The Ibadan group was later arrested by a group that was loyal to Agui-Ironsi. The army GOC at that time was Major General Agui-Ironsi. He too was destined for death that night, but for a tip-off from Colonel Pam, who called him few minutes before his death, he went on, headed straight from Ikeja, where he sent out streams of orders throughout the night. Troops that were loyal to him and the government took over. The new regime started well with enormous and popular support from people, including those from the north. They were glad that the rule of the politicians, whom they were said to have been corrupt, had ended. The last of the coup plotters were arrested and detained in their various states of origin. Moving on to the counter coup. Prior to Major General Ironsi's ascension in May 1966, there were reports of riots in the north. Igbos were mainly being attacked and they fled to the east. But the Major General Ironsi and Ojukwu at that time, who was the governor in the east, called on Igbos who had fled to go back to the north. Ojukwu was later to regret this particular action. The North kept agitating for the punishment of the leaders of the January 1966 coup and the discontinuation of any plans to investigate the underpinnings of the May 1966 massacres in the North. Ironsi embarked on a nationwide tour to calm the fears of the people, but unfortunately, he did not make it back to Lagos. He was arrested by the Nigerian army captors, T.y.Danjuma. There are divergent accounts of what happened next, but it is known that the bullet-ridden bodies of Agui-Ironsi and Fajri, who he went to visit in Ibadan, were found and buried at Ibadan and was taken 6 months later to their respective hometowns. After dawn on 29th of July 1966, men and officers of the eastern origin were massacred mercilessly across the barracks and garrisons of Nigeria, apart from in Enugu, which obviously is in the east. This counter coup was partly in revenge to the coup of January, which was seen as an all-Igbo affair, and also for the secession of the North. Men, women, and even children of the Igbo origin were maimed, killed, properties destroyed. And the most heartbreaking of all this is that no one, not even one, has been arrested or questioned for these massacres that occurred. Naturally, there was a reaction from the east. There were seen to be retaliatory acts of violence which were seen to have occurred in Aba, Onitsha, and Port Harcourt. But eyewitness accounts stress that these were occasional acts of fury which were born out of events of the moment. Colonel Ojukwu ordered all killings to stop. According to Frederick Forsyth's book, this was in contrast to the incompetence of his counterparts, Gowon and Katsina in the north. Men and officers of the north were escorted by their Igbo counterparts northwards, and they left safely to the north. Apart from an occasion where rioters stopped a train around Imo River, there was no occasion of riot. These men were led out to the north. In the meantime, the east tackled with the hurricane task of adopting the refugees that had come back from the north. And guys, that brings us to the end of this very first episode. Here we'll be answering some pertinent questions, like I said, after every episode, that we will be answering some questions. The first question that we will be answering is, was the January 15th coup really an Igbo coup? A school of thought has it that this coup was an Igbo coup. Why? Majorly because the planners, Nzeogwu, Ifeajuna, Okafor, Anoforo, and so all of them were majorly of Eastern origin. Two, the man that was favored by this school, which is Agüironsi, was also an Igbo man. Three, Nnamdi Azikiwe was not killed. And four, the coup did not happen in Enugu. The northerners felt that this coup was actually an Igbo coup. But another school of thought has it that it had nothing to do with an Igbo coup. After all, Igbo men were actually destined to die in this coup. Agüironsi himself was destined to die in the coup, except for the tip-off by Colonel Pam. Again, Igbo men died in the coup. Another thing you will think of is that it was not only Igbo men that were involved in the planning of the coup. Adewale was from the west. Again, most of the soldiers that carried out the coup, most of the soldiers that followed Chukwuma, Kaduna, and Nzeogwu to the coup were of the northern origin. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section. Do you believe that it was an Igbo coup? Do you believe that the coup was just mainly because of the corruption that was at that time? It was said that these leaders of Nigeria were living exorbitant lives. They were driving flashy cars, traveling abroad, stashing out money and everything. Sometimes I wonder what they will say now. I wonder what these men are going to say in the now. So that is the first question that we are going to answer. Secondly, another question that I would like for us to answer is that who was the leader of the school? Was it Kaduna and Nzeogwu, or was it Emmanuel Ifeajuna? According to Chinua Achebe's recent book, There Was a Country, Ifeajuna actually came out with the Ifeajuna manuscript, where he was said to have boasted, to have planned an execution, the coup, all by himself. Come to think of it, he was in charge of the Lagos coup. Actually goes to a great extent to say whether he was the major planner. Now Nzeogwu was seen as the leader of this coup. In fact, most people call this coup the Nzeogwu coup. But some reports have it that Nzeogwu was actually brought into the coup at the later stages of this coup. But that school of thought is because Nzeogwu's part was seen as the most successful, and of course his famous speech, our enemies are our enemies are. Guys, we are wrapping it up here, and I would like to know your comments in the comment section. Drop your comments, tell me your questions. Tomorrow we're going to be talking about the Aburi Accord. Watch out for this episode. Watch out for the second episode. It is coming 3 p.m. Nigerian time, and by the way, don't forget to like, don't forget to share your comment, don't forget to drop, and of course, do not insult any tribe. We are reliving the war. We're talking about the events that occurred during the war, before and after during the war, and this is in commemoration with 30th of May, which is seen as the Biafran Remembrance Day. I love you, and my name is Naza Ugala.